This is Sway.
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 In the morning.
In the morning.
In the morning.
Don't shake your body.
Wake your punk ass up. That crust out your eyes.
Yeah. Gotta go back, man.
Yeah.
Go Sway.
I hate to admit it, but I have it on my iPod.
Wow. That's the theme music from the Andy Griffith Show. Ron Howard has joined us, ladies and gentlemen. What an amazing... Let me tell you what that... Ron Howard is here. I'm going to keep saying it and open up the phone lines, 888-742-3345. It has to fascinate you. When Ron Howard first came in, I hugged you and told you, I know you. And you know, I grew up in Oakland in the 70s. Right. So... that's how we were entertained. They would throw the TV on and make you watch all these different shows. Opie was my first white friend. You know what I mean? Like,
you know what's Sway.
No, I'm serious. He was my first buddy. Okay. You know, like guy, growing up, it wasn't a whole lot.
Yeah. That show, that's an amazing example of a show that was so unique.
Yeah.
And it came from the heart and soul of Andy Griffith, even though he didn't write them. Mm-hmm. But it wasn't the 60s. He always said, this isn't the South of the 60s. Yeah. This goes back. This goes back to my childhood. And so even then it was already kind of nostalgia in a way that the way that Happy Days was nostalgia, made in the 70s, about the 50s. But he made something that was pure, and it was totally original. And it's amazing that show would aired in 1960. So what is that? It's still on TV.
It's still on TV.
It's unbelievable.
We saw it in syndication, it feel like, in the 70s, but it was also... It transcended ethnic backgrounds, social economics. A kid, I grew up on welfare, and I could relate to a show like that. I'm an avid angler. I fish all the time because Opie and Pa used to walk to the pond.
Yeah, we did.
And fish all the time. And that's something that no matter who you were, where you came from, it was something as a kid that appealed to us.
So here's my childhood. I'm glad the fishing thing worked out for you.
Okay.
I remember first time we did that shot, I was 6 years old, and we're walking along, and it's make-believe stuff. It wasn't a real lake.
It wasn't?
It was a water reservoir for Los Angeles.
Okay.
And they got a special permit to throw 3 rocks into the lake.
Wow.
And so I'm 6 years old, and they're saying, now we only got 3 chances at this. You got to make a good throw, Ronnie.
Really?
Yeah.
That's a lot of pressure for us. You grew up down the street from Desilu Studios?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, actually, I was born in Oklahoma. That's where my parents are from. My dad always was an actor.
Yeah.
He was before the Air Force, then he went into the Air Force, then after he went back into it. And we finally moved to California when I was 4 in 1958. But I got into it through him, through watching him direct plays and act, and I just I loved it, and I've always been lucky. People say, how did you grow up in the business, and stay positive and grow with it? And it's really because I think I found something that I just always really loved, and I wanted to go deeper and deeper into it and learn more and more about it, and I still do.
You still do it. Desilu Studios owned by Desi Arnaz and Lucille Ball.
Yeah.
And I used to watch I Love Lucy.
Of course.
You see how the tie is happening?
Yeah. Hey, on the Andy Griffith Show lot, which was, they had actually 3 studios, and the little one there was called Desilu Cahuenga, and it was tiny little place, but they had the Dick Van Dyke Show. They had Jack Benny Show. They had Lucy. They had Hogan's Heroes.
Wow.
It was amazing the number of. They had like 6 of the top 10 shows. They had I Spy, and in fact, I got to be on an I Spy.
Wow, really?
And every once in a while, Bill Cosby would bring around NBA players to visit all the different sets.
Yeah.
Wilt Chamberlain. He brought Wilt Chamberlain one day, 7 feet tall, and
he was a kid.
It was amazing. It was amazing.
Happy Days. You worked around so many. Well, first of all, salute to Don Knotts, who was one of the funniest people ever. Ended up being Mr. Furley on Three's Company.
Yeah.
Happy Days, you got a chance to work with we had Scott Bell here not too long ago.
Was that right?
A couple weeks ago.
Yeah. Great guy.
Yeah, really great guy. I had to resist from calling him Chachi. Henry Winkler.
Yeah.
The Fonz.
He loves fishing. Did you know that?
I didn't know that.
Amazing fly fisherman. Loves it. That's his whole, it's one of his passions.
Can you hook me up where I could hook
with
the Fonz?
I can work that out. I think I can work that out.
Hey. That must have been Tom Bosley. That must have been an amazing experience. Happy Days. the programs that you worked on during bad times made us forget that there were bad times.
You know, one time, thank you for that.
Yeah.
And of course, I didn't write any of those. I didn't direct them. I take a lot more responsibility for the things that I do direct or produce. But I feel really grateful for having been on those shows, and I think I learned a lot from being on those shows. But I learned a lesson, maybe 15 years ago. I have 4 kids. Everybody's grown now.
Yeah.
We were having like a really bad time. You know, even though we have plenty of money and life's good, families still hit on hard times every once in a while. And there was something that was really breaking the family up. And a sitcom came on. It was on reruns. It wasn't a show I regularly watched. I can't even remember what it was. But for some reason it was on, and comedically, they were making jokes about all the things that our family was going through at that moment. And it did us a world of good to sit down and laugh at that sitcom version of what our family was going through. And it helped. And it just reminded me then that if you're a creative person, your heart's in the right place. It doesn't matter what the genre is. It doesn't matter what the style is. If you got something to say, at some point, there's going to be an audience that needs to hear it and feel it, and it was a good reminder.
Man, and that's why you make film?
I love it. It's a kind of a way of life for me.
Yeah.
So sure, I make it for the audience, but it's also going back to 6 years old, and you only have 3 takes to throw it in the lake. It's really what I've always known. It's the way I express myself, and I'm lucky to be able to choose projects where I can put a lot of myself into it. I choose them because I believe in them, and I think I have something to offer. And then the collaborations that you have with the actors, with the writers, with the cinematographers and editors are, they're incredible. You mentioned Made in America.
Yeah.
I mean, that was my first documentary.
That's the one with Jay-Z, the Made in America tour.
Sure.
And I was given this opportunity through my partner Brian Grazer at Imagine Films, who knew Jay, and he produced 8 Mile, he kind of turned me on to this possibility, this opportunity. I thought it was fantastic. I went in there and I learned a lot about it, and it was interesting to know I was completely like almost an alien, like a stranger in a strange land.
Yeah.
But I could apply so much of what I knew about people, stories, my own curiosity, and I was really able to get engaged in it and involved in it in a way that surprised me, and I suppose to a degree, and I've been getting good feedback on it.
Oh, it's a great doc.
Yeah.
It's a great doc, and having known Jay for decades, I felt like I learned and discovered something more about him that even your average person couldn't know.
Well, that's high praise. He was, he made himself available. He was, and was open to the questions. It was the first time I was on the other side of that thing, of asking the questions. I'd never, ever done that.
Yeah. Wow. Was it hard?
It was terrible.
You
It was
respect
really
what
hard.
we go through, Ron Howard. I do this every day. We're going to open up the phone lines. I want to talk about your new project, the Project Imagination Film Festival. We're going to open up the phone lines, 888-742-3345. Sway in the morning, we're talking with Ron Howard.
Yes.
Who actually produced and directed it, right?
Made in America. Well, along with Brian Grazer, Jay-Z was an exec producer on it as well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Anything interesting? You say you were curious. You weren't that familiar with Jay-Z's music, I'm sure, but I know you knew the name and the brand.
Oh yeah. And we had met each other, and as I said, our company made 8 Mile. Brian's always really believed in hip hop early on. Going back to the early '80s when we were doing Night Shift and Splash.
Wow,
he was already listening.
Wow. You guys also, did y'all produce 8 Mile?
Yeah. Brian produced it.
8 Mile. This is Eminem Station right now.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I just thought I'll let you know that. Jay-Z, when I think of some of the people you work with, Mel Gibson, Tom Hanks, who's from where I'm from, Jay-Z, the list goes on and on. All of these people who are great at what they do. Is there any common thread that you found?
Well, that's a good question. And going back to people that I worked with as an actor, like even John Wayne,
but the shooters,
or I directed Betty Davis. Yeah, they all have something in common.
Wow, yeah.
It's a standard. It's a standard that they won't do less than, and they themselves, they kind of lead by example because they give everything they've got. And they've got discipline, and they might have different personalities, and some people might be fun-loving and other people might be kind of tough. But the fact of the matter is they're there for the audience and themselves, and there's a kind of there's a nexus, there's a meeting place there, right? And that's I think what they have in common.
That's what they all share. John Wayne, shoot, that was one of his last movie he made, right? Which was I used to love the cowboy movies.
Oh,
so,
yeah. He was.
You know, Ron, you and me, man, you don't realize
We got
how
a
much
lot going on.
we got
a lot in common.
I'm telling you, man.
I'm glad I wandered in here so I could fit in.
You just came in. It was natural. Project Imagination. I was reading up on this. You teamed up with Canon, right?
Yeah, Canon sponsored this, and a couple of years ago did the first phase of it. My daughter Bryce actually directed a movie, and it was inspired by the photos that people sent in various categories. So it was a photo contest, and then we selected winners in each category, like setting or character and that kind of thing. She made a very personal short film, but the rule was you had to take your inspiration from these photos. I was surprised at how well it worked. I thought it was a great creative experiment. I was happy to be a part of it. This year they decided to raise it and have an entire festival.
Wow.
So they have 5 celebrities who made movies. Jamie Foxx is among those. Eva Longoria, Biz Stone, James Murphy, and Georgiana Chapman. Different disciplines, music, and design, and so forth. And they had the same set of rules with now a new set of pictures and contest winners. And it's just incredible to see the short films that these people have created. Then Canon went one step further. They said, well, now let's challenge our professionals, our famous artists, and let's open it up to the public. Well, we got hundreds and hundreds of submissions, people making movies on their own, using the same photographs that our celebrity directors were using. And Bryce and I had to be the judges, and they're fantastic, and they're coming up on Yahoo as of tonight. And I just encourage people to check them out and see them. We're having a festival tonight. Yeah, everybody's coming together. That'll be really great.
A festival, is it online festival?
Well,
or?
we're having a live festival tonight.
Okay.
And then the shorts are going to go, are going to go online after that. But tonight will be a red carpet, and all the directors, are going to be there tonight.
Wow.
And
so
it's really
Jamie
fun.
Foxx is coming, and everybody's going to be there.
Jamie Foxx threw himself into this thing. They all did with such dedication. I thought, well, look, I knew there was a lot personally at stake for it with Bryce. She's the kind of person that just kills herself on everything that she does, and she made it her priority. I wondered how somebody as busy as Jamie or Biz Stone, what would they do? I went and visited the set. Yeah. Jamie was just killing himself. I mean, he was having a blast, but he'd worked with the writers. Every shot mattered. He was not phoning this in at all. He was really, really loving it, and he made a great movie.
He pulled Tyron Turner to be in this movie, who was in Menace to Society. Our good buddy, the Alan Hughes film that they directed, classic from years ago, was working with Jamie on this film, and he was talking about this to us earlier. And now it's starting to make sense to me. So if people want to view these shorts on Yahoo, at what time can they do it? Or how does that work?
Starting tonight?
Starting tonight?
Courtney over there knows.
Courtney, what time, Courtney? Go ahead.
Get on the mic, Courtney.
The festival officially starts tomorrow, but perhaps they might be online tonight after the film premiere at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Okay, great. And this was open to the general public at large, right? Anybody could enter this, right?
Anybody could submit photos. It's just in the United States. And I'd love to see them go globally with this thing. Yeah. Because, to get the different cultural perspectives. It turns out that this experiment of one group of people sending in photographs that they're passionate about, and then another group of people sort of saying, well, what do those photographs mean to me? You'd think that would limit them, but it's the opposite. It just sort of expands the horizon of what's possible. I think it inspires, really creative choices, and I think that's why I got involved. Canon, I thought, really just stumbled on a fantastic creative experiment.
All right, Ron Howard is here. I'm going to take a few phone calls. A lot of people are calling, 888-742-3345. I know we only got a few minutes left, but we're going to come back with your calls. Yeah, Tracy G, you got to know this right here. This is the theme song for Happy Days. Ron Howard has joined us. We're going to take your phone calls. Man, let me see. We got JD and Callie. What would you like to say to Ron Howard?
Ron Howard, first, good morning. I had the opportunity to see Made in America last week, and that was really a dope documentary.
Wow.
And like also, Ron Howard, I would like to ask you a question. What's your passion in life?
Well, it's thank you, by the way, about the compliment on the movie, because I haven't had a chance to talk to that many people who've seen it outside of a couple of test screenings, which were all really good. And we screened it at Toronto, and that was fun.
That's amazing.
Well, when I realized I was really going to get to be a full-time director, and that was going to be my career, it focused me in a lot of ways. And at about the same time, I was having my fourth kid. So at a certain point, I just decided I'm a family man and I'm a filmmaker, and that's really what I do. And there are a lot of things that I love. I love sports, and I try to pay attention and keep track. But I don't really need hobbies because these things in my life, thrill me and they're exciting.
And they're time consuming.
Yes, that too.
I know what you really want to say. He can't say that, though. All right. We got DJ from North Dakota. Say hello to Ron Howard.
Hey, Ron Howard. It's kind of weird listening to this. I keep thinking I'm hearing an episode of Arrested Development here. But I'm an aspiring actor, and you've been in a lot of projects and worked with a lot of actors. I just want to know, what are like your keys for success for aspiring actors and filmmakers in America?
Well, I think it always gets back to, what you can find in yourself personally that you can express through a character or a story or, in any project. And I think the only way to discover that is to get out and do that work, almost any kind of work. I also think that actors who experiment with improvisation and get into those improv groups, even if they're doing dramas, they seem to be more alive, and more honest in all the choices that they make.
All right, Heather, you want to talk to Ron?
Yeah, is there one film out there that you wish you could have got your hands on as a director, just your own little private? You sat home and was like, damn it.
There's so many that I can't even begin to start because there's so many great directors. And, I have a movie that's out in theaters right now, Rush.
Yeah.
And it's about two rivals. And so I've been asked this question in a way over and over again recently. And I realized that, no, I don't feel like it's a competition the way, two athletes might feel the competition.
Okay.
But I definitely see people's movies and say, damn it, what have they got going that I don't? And or what could I have done that well with that story? And so I feel challenged by the medium and the possibilities.
Got it.
Our time has elapsed now. We have to let Ron go. People are like making fingers at us because we're holding him over. Tracy just had a quick question,
Sure,
man.
sure.
I can't
mega quick. Because out of all the film that you've worked on, whether it was directing or acting, which one stands out the most as teaching you something new about yourself?
Oh, wow. Well, Parenthood, which goes back a long way, and now we have a television series about it. That has always meant a lot to me because I do reflect it personally to what I'm going through. I did learn a lot from Rush because normally I do films about teams, teamwork, that kind of. This is about two individuals, and yet they have a lot of ambition. They approach things in really different ways. So I related to both guys in some ways, but the way they were fueled almost to all costs, almost to sort of an insane level, made me think a little bit about my own ambition. Because again, as I said, I do feel that fire, and in an odd way, it was a little different from any movie that I've ever made, and I think I learned in some ways more about myself through that experience.
Nice.
Ron Howard, thank you.
Yes.
For your legacy, your work presently, giving back, giving these young directors and writers and actors an opportunity with Project Imagination. I want people to go on Yahoo, look it up, make sure you support it, especially if you're aspiring to be in this business. It's a great way to do it. I know you mentored and tutored a lot of the young directors. Thank you for just being a fabric of my life and my evolution and being my first white friend.
That's right, Sway.
Ron Howard, man.
You made my morning, guys.
Thank you, man. Thank you for coming by.
It's Sway in the morning, only on Shade 45.